Okay, there's Dave. Okay, good. I'd like to make a motion to open the meeting.
So moved.
Second. In favor? Aye. Are we, did you start the recording?
Yes, it's recorded.
Okay. Good. This meeting is based for the application submitted by Lisa and Dan Lakaitis, 16 Brook Road, Tuxedo Park, New York. Tax map 103-1-12, seeking relief from Village Code 100-9, permitted yards, intrusions, decks, porches, patios, verandas, terraces, and above grade exterior space shall be limited to 25% of the enclosed ground floor area of the associated building, and plans submitted show that the square footage of the area exceeds the 25% limit by 1,039 square feet or 81.62%. We have proofs of mailings.
Yes, 7 neighbors are notified and we have proof that 6 were received.
All right, applicant presents.
Good evening. I'm Neil Young from with Black House Studio, the architect. I'm going to be representing Dan and Lisa, and I'm also joined by Tyler Ballard from Artemis Landscape Architecture. If you have any questions for him. So what we're proposing is a pool and terrace that is integrated with the slope of the site. As you referenced, the spirit, we're 1,039 square feet over the allowable. I would like to point out that the total square footage, including the existing property and the addition and the pool, with all of that, we're at about 6,000 square feet, which is roughly 20,000 square feet below the allowable lot coverage. So with our allowable lot coverage at 25% is around 27,000 square feet. So I just want to make that point because as you'll see, the size of our request is rather large, but in the scheme of the site, it's actually pretty small. Along with the pool terrace, we're proposing a small addition on the ground floor for a pool house, as well as an enclosed area that's part of an existing deck and also over the first floor, the ground floor addition that's going to be in a new enclosed room. With that new enclosed room, we're cutting the existing deck area in half. The other thing I want to address as we're kind of going through the documents is what we think is ambiguity of the language regarding the decks and terraces, specifically the language where it states decks and terraces above and other areas above grade. When we were initially in our design phase, we had gone through a lot of great pains to integrate the pool and the terrace into the site, not realizing that any of those areas were considered part of the calculation for decks and terraces, where we were assuming anything above grade, meaning the deck that's on the first floor, is what we are kind of putting in our number, which just means that we would have been here many months ago had we known that the terrace around the pool would have been part of the calculation that we needed to keep track of for that zoning section specifically. I want to try to address our design and our proposal within the framework that you're kind of judging it on. So I'll start with the undesirable change. We believe that this is not an undesirable change based on the fact that we have worked to integrate the pool and the subsequent terracing into the site. We have in the rear of the property, we have a sloping site. The pool has been pushed down further from the house so that it can be at grade. We worked really hard to keep everything at grade. So a lot of the terracing that you'll see on the plans, you go from the terracing just to grade. You don't step down stairs. We have stairs included to follow the contours of the site to get from sort of different from higher elevation to lower elevation. On sheet LS2 specifically, you'll see how that is sort of integrated into the site. There's more information on that sheet that has grade elevations. So you can see the way in which the pool and the terracing going down to the pool has been designed so that everything kind of works with the current topography of the site. The entirety of the pool and the terracing around the pool is within the rear setback of the property. And additionally, we pushed this over towards the west property setback to give ourselves more room from the one neighboring property to the east. In addition to that, we've also added more vegetation and screening in that space on the east between the two properties. In terms of the alternative methods, the way in which this pool is designed is it has, I would say it has patio space or terrace space on two sides of it. And that's really to be able to allow access in and out of the pool. The northern side of the pool is there's no paving along that edge. And along the western edge, there's a little strip of paving, which is really access for the automatic pool closer. We pushed this pool down to a lower elevation, which also pushed it away further from the house, which meant that we needed to add more paving material to get to the house, from the house to the pool. A lot of the areas that you see are sort of what we consider pathways from the upper area where the elevation of the house at the back of the house to get down to the pool. There's a significant amount of paving that we needed just to get to the pool from the upper elevation. The size of the variance, as I mentioned earlier, is 1,039 square feet. But we feel like that's relatively small considering the size of the property. It's a typical size for a pool area to have this paving around the pool, again, to provide access into the pool, but also to provide a little space for some seating around the pool. The percentage, the total percentage of the variance that we're seeking is also relatively large because of the size of our house, which is relatively small for the average house in Tuxedo Park. The total square footage of the house being, the ground floor specifically, is what's driving our maximum pool, our deck surface area. I think our maximum allowable is 857 or there's 877 square feet. Again, that's driven by the enclosed ground floor area, which we did increase that slightly by adding the pool house. But that's not a large number relative to the size of the pool, and also again relative to other properties in the park. In terms of adverse effects, I would say we've worked really hard to minimize any impact of the proposed pool area on the neighboring lot to the east via pushing it as far away from the property setback as possible. The part of the addition was intentionally designed on the east side of the house to create an additional buffer, like the architecture itself creates sort of a buffer between the neighbor and the pool. And on top of that, we're proposing to add additional evergreen planting in the wooded area between the two properties within This, they're do screening and buffer from noise. In terms of self-creation, where we started on the project was already over the allowable square footage because two previous submissions have been approved with that additional space. On the plans that we're looking at, specifically the paving area directly off of the lower floor of the house. Those have been existing in some form throughout two previous submissions, and those areas are already over the allowable deck surface, which I only bring that up to say that one of the reasons why this was not on our radar was again because of the language of the zoning ordinance, but also because of these things being there and had never been brought up to our attention before. We proceeded as though as long as we were maintaining our patio and terraces at grade, we didn't have a concern.
Could you show me, I'm sorry, what was there before that? Just point it out so I can.
There is on the first sheet of slides, what's that? There is an existing site plan. 100 point or -1 or 0.1, yes. So you'll see right off the back of the house, there's a couple pink areas. They're rectangles that
Gravel?
represent, yeah, gravel. Sorry,
The slab patio right here. That slab patio and that slab patio are both existing where we're putting our proposed gravel jointed pavers.
Yeah. So those are not included in your calculations? Or they are included.
Are included in our calculations, yeah. So that would be primarily area 4 and area 3 is like sort of within that zone too, but pushed a little bit further. But Tyler did bring up a good point. So in those areas, we're replacing what is currently more homogeneous paving with paving that has gravel joints, which means that they sort of function more like walkway pavers and they have more permeability in terms of rainwater. Again, we're trying to work with all of these patio surfaces with the intention of minimizing any kind of environmental impact in terms of water runoff and stormwater, and working these things into sort of a natural landscaping in the site.
But you're including what you consider to be pervious pavers as part of the request for variance or not?
Correct, yeah. Some of the areas in our request are permeable pavers.
They're the permeable pavers that they were existing on grade large stones before.
Yeah, and
basically.
those are the areas are now large slabs of stone, but we're replacing those with permeable pavers.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, but if somebody has a Subaru out front, they're blocking the mayor's car.
444 HAB.
Oh, Jim, that's you. Could you move your car? You're blocking the mayor.
I can't get out. Oh, Professor.
Shame.
I
thought you wanted to be part of the meeting.
Yeah, I thought you were enjoying
wants
this.
you to be part of the meeting.
To make this, to answer your questions, probably the easiest way, if you turn to LS4, which if you have LS4, the document that I created this was not part of the original document. I created it for this just to help clarify some of these areas. So on LS4, area 4 and area 3 specifically, those are permeable pavers, gravel jointed pavers, so that they're essentially pavers that are smaller that have joints between them, so they don't act as a homogeneous monolithic paved area. Whereas the paving around the pool specifically, those are more grouted jointed pavers, so they have they're not impermeable.
But you
Impervious.
include those two areas as
They're
part of your
included,
total
yes.
area, not taking any percentage away from
Correct.
the area because they're.
That's correct. We included them in the coverage, and part of this was we had worked with John to highlight the areas that he felt, and that made sense to include as part of our variance.
Got it.
And so on this
Got
sheet specifically, all of these areas in pink are the areas that we're including that are part of our request.
Right. While we're talking about that in a similar way, this up to the French drain is also permeable pavers at the driveway?
Yes,
Um,
we haven't talked about material choices just yet, but it's currently a gravel driveway.
And you're
Now,
changing that out?
And we might possibly change it out to a permeable paver, excuse me, but we haven't decided the exact.
Okay, so that's why John doesn't know that, but it says in these drawings, that's what I interpreted it as, that's part of the plan.
yeah,
Not yet.
yes, but I would say, the driveway like the driveway material wouldn't require a variance.
Understood,
Yeah,
but just so the numbers and the drawings look,
The gravel driveway is not included in this number here.
okay, yeah, all right. Good to know. And you've not decided it anyway.
We have not decided that. Correct.
And the. And then you replace the gravel with pervious pavers. Or even if you asphalted it, it would still not reach the 25% of the 111.
if we pave the entire driveway with asphalt, we would only be up to 12% of our total lot coverage.
But you have it here, just so you know.
Yeah, yes, so and this is part of the broader, permit, but,
Is this officially submitted to John?
yep, yes.
Okay, so that needs to be corrected.
Yeah, and again, if we were to pave the driveway,
Mhm.
it wouldn't put us over
Right.
our total lot coverage.
Understood. Yeah.
So is your client, are you, obviously, John reads this section as requiring a variance because at grade structures are included in his opinion.
Yes.
And that's his interpretation. And are you formally, or is your client formally asking for this board to overturn John's interpretation?
We're seeking a variance for the amount of square footage that we need to get over to allow for us to build the
Mhm.
pool and surrounding terraces. We needed a variance of 1,039 square feet is what we're seeking.
Okay, but you or your client has basically put forth the proposition that it's only above ground based on your reading or client's reading of the code, it's only above ground structures. And therefore, anything that says at grade under your reading of the code would not have counted towards the 25% of the ground floor area.
I was only bringing that up because I think it caused us confusion in the beginning of our
see.
design process.
Okay.
And for future projects, it would be beneficial to have that more clarity around that language. If we had known that what we were proposing was going to be over, we would have been in front of this board probably 2 months earlier, which now is impacting our construction start date. We've been in front of the BAR, and it was a unanimous approval of the project pending what this board designates in terms of what we're allowed to do.
John, you want to speak a moment about how you've interpreted that in the way that you have, or why? I can also speak. I don't know if the board wants to discuss this, but it might be important for future applications to understand.
I think it is important to at least discuss it because obviously they're looking as potential for amending zoning
Mhm.
differential between above ground and on grade. All right, so
You mean the board is?
yes,
Okay, all right.
okay. There's been there's a group that are reviewing the code, and that's one of the areas that it's being reviewed right now.
Okay.
So, certainly if this applicant was putting an above ground that percentage, all right, we would probably look at this a lot differently than the fact that that most of the variance requested is on grade.
Okay.
I guess I just have 3 points. First of all, the interpretation that I've carried forth is an interpretation that's existed for over 20 years.
Yeah.
First,
Consistently.
Yeah.
the second thing is, I want to try to be fair to everyone, but I do understand there are some ambiguities with the code. And lastly, I'm the one that proposed the change, or at least the modification to the code review committee 2 weeks ago. And it's just that the timing has come to that point. So,
Sorry, John, you suggested that the code review committee look at this particular statute?
yes,
Did you,
and particularly letter B.
did you suggest changes? I mean, did you make suggestions as to the changes you would,
Yes, I did.
okay. All right,
But that's up to the code review committee, and obviously there's a number of approvals that will be needed along with
Mhm.
public review before any code change happens.
Well,
So this is not unique, and I don't know why it's getting so much attention at this point.
well, because I think the applicant brought it up. No?
And I would say I only brought it up because again, it's the ambiguity of it that led us to the point that we didn't discover this as an issue earlier in our design process. Again, I realized that we would be here regardless, we would be here because of the amount of patio service that we have. But had we known that that was going to be an issue, we would have been here 2 months sooner, which would have helped, in our case, the process of our application and permitting and construction.
Well, I mean, I would just note that patios are typically at grade and they're specifically called out as part of B. I think there is certainly room for clarification since that then you see a general term, specific terms, then you see a general term above grade exterior space, which does cause some issues in terms of interpretation.
Right.
I think, however, specific and statutory construction always trumps, and I hate to use that word, but general terms and patios, which are typically at grade, is included.
Correct.
It's also a structure, just under the definition of structure, they call out driveways and walkways and other things that are at grade. And then the only other thing that the committee might want to be thinking about when they're thinking about this modifications per se is that if you determine that at grade patios do not count, then you've got the only other restriction, which is 100-11, which is the 25%. So arguably you could, I don't know how, I think this is like what, 2.5 acres or something. I mean, you could,
They're only at 5.6% on lot coverage.
yeah,
Like you
that's.
said, he can pave
but-
the whole driveway.
Yes, I'm saying that in terms of going forward for this board or, other applicants, the other thing to think about when the committee looks at this code is if you exclude patios, then then you have to consider that someone might want to put patios over 25% of their lot. And which is kind of ridiculous, but it could happen, right?
Right.
That's.
I
the point.
understand
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I personally understand.
Basically why the
ambiguity of
code is the way the code is, so we could look at an individual.
Right,
project
absolutely.
And not allow something like that to happen.
Yes, and I totally understand that. I'm suggesting more clarity so that there's the ambiguity is removed and if you were proposing more than 25% of your ground floor coverage, whatever that might be, then you have to come in front of the board.
Mhm.
I just wanted to point that out because it was a reason why we are here now instead of, again, 2 months ago.
Well, certainly we look at it differently, if it's above grade and it's on grade,
Yeah.
there's, ways to look at it as far as whether you grant a variance or not.
Yes, yeah, and I understand that. And again, as you can see, we've worked really hard to integrate this into the site so that everything that we're proposing is at grade. So we're not proposing elevated areas of terrace on the pool area.
So I'm just curious, is the pool itself counted in that calculation, or since that's below grade, it's?
It's not, it's really
Lot
just,
coverage.
Yeah.
Lot coverage.
Lot coverage, but not, it's not considered.
Not unless you can walk, not unless you can walk on water.
Yeah.
Not unless you can walk on water.
Right, exactly. No, I visited the site today. It's very good, and the neighbors didn't look like it was an issue that seemed.
Are there any letters from anyone we talked to?
No, there were no letters for support or against the project.
And I assume the boulders going down, you will keep them such that you are able to.
There is the intent of integrating those things into the landscape design. I'll let Tyler speak to that.
And we're gonna identify most of the boulders that can be reused in for the steps and reused as boulder walls. So we're gonna be using as much material that's there existing as part of this new design.
Is there a boulder in the pool?
There is.
Are you going to keep it?
Unless, yeah. We're gonna be,
So cute.
You should.
yes, it's part of the feature now. It's, we're gonna be removing that during the excavation.
Oh, too bad.
But there's
I liked
plenty
it.
of other boulders around.
There's
so-
plenty
I know, but
of other
You don't see a
boulders,
boulder in a pool very often.
Yeah. Hard to clean the pool.
correct.
There's probably a reason for it.
You'll have ducks on it.
Meeting to the public. Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to open the meeting to the public.
So moved.
Is there anyone from the public who would like to add to this? Jim? You're the only one here.
He's just keeping me company.
Then I'd like to close the meeting for the public.
Motion.
So moved.
Second.
Board discussion? I mean, I personally think it's a, you know, although the request for a variance is substantial, you know, I look at the fact that really it's on grade and the lot coverage is minimal, that, you know, I think it's a good project. And
I agree. I mean, to me, you couldn't really have the pool without.
right, without a deck.
Without the.
Could you move the pool up toward the house? I know there's a sort
Not
of a
without-
steep.
Yeah, so
I think that'd be more disruptive to the.
it would create an edge on the end, on the backside of the pool that would be higher out of the ground. That's why the pool is where it is, because it was the one area where it could fit and the backside be at grade. So moving the pool up closer to the house would result in a 4 to 6 foot high retaining wall on the backside of the pool.
Back in the pool.
It'd be much more, obtrusive to the entire.
Much more disturbance.
Higher up.
Well, I can see the area in area 1, chaise longue on both sides for sun coming here or there. That makes perfect sense. Just looking at that percentage and how big that is of an ask. I just feel compelled to ask why the other areas that are in gray and area 2 wouldn't be reduced by half if it's just moving someone to the pool. Are those
Yeah.
intended to be lounging areas as well, or?
Again, it's the word where it's the goal of getting all of the areas to be at grade.
Mhm.
So the elevation right next to the house, which is the area 4 specifically, that's your first flat area. And then from there, it starts to drop off.
Well,
So,
you've got 3 steps and then your area 2,
Right.
which is flat.
and then 3
two
more steps. And again, if you look at the contours, so those areas have been designed around the contours to make it work so that as you can kind of gently step down along the contours of the site to get down to the pool area.
But I mean, you could, like, I get area 4. You're coming out of that basement area or first floor, and there's a party and there are lots of people there and there's room for. But like, how come this can't be reduced like that? I don't understand
It would
the
require
grading
a
bit.
few more steps and
Why would it?
In
This
a
is, if
design
you cut a
sense-
section right here, you get what you have now. It's
Isn't-
just not,
Isn't,
In a design
is
sense,
that a
we
hot
want-
tub also there?
well, yeah, this is
To the,
Diamond.
So I
touching this, and I'm assuming that would,
That's why that would go.
So
wouldn't
in
assume
a
that.
design sense, when you're walking down a certain amount of steps, you want a resting point when you're coming down a lot of steps. So you typically have a resting point or an open area, where you can stop. and then
Yeah, but
walk
that
down
would
the
be-
steps.
walking down the steps, taking a stroll to the west, taking a stroll to the east. I'm talking about this areas right here, like, what's this for?
I would say that they're for a variety of things, as Tyler mentioned, for resting point, but also, to provide additional spaces, for not necessarily for furniture, but, for other pool related things to happen on either side of the stairs. And then part of this is also, again, because this area here is relatively small for the pool itself, and because we don't have any patio surface on this side of the pool, what you normally would have around the pool has to, some of those things have to happen sort of
Like,
intermediate.
tell me what, because, you
That's
know,
13 feet.
I'm thinking you've got two people here at a chaise, I don't know, is there a table and you're gonna, then a couple of sheds here and a couple of sheds there, that's cool, that looks like a nice place to be. What's happening here that's the rationale for it making that percentage ratchet up to
Sure.
81%? Like, how important is that to the grand scheme of this as what you're asking for?
I would say from my client's perspective, I would say it's an imperative. But I
I just want to
also-
understand, it's more.
Oh, yeah, sure. Well, I mean, again, I think part of this is the way in which this was designed was, intended as a tasteful, integrated
Mhm.
pool design, so that as it was being designed and as the idea of terraces were being brought up, some of these things are happening because of the way and what the nature in which that was designed. So instead of having upper space and then a pathway to a pool, there are these sort of intermediate spaces that were designed intentionally to create more spaces along the way to the pool. I know I know that you're asking for a very specific use of
Yeah,
those
like
things,
what-
and I would.
Do you want more chairs there?
And it's to eliminate
That's cool.
having 9
That
steps.
makes sense.
To eliminate having 9 steps altogether in one. rather than
Well,
having-
look, 1, 2, 3, resting space. 1, 2, I don't know what this is, 3, 4. Like, I'm not saying you don't have steps, or I'm not even saying jam. I'm asking what this is for and what that is for.
Yeah, and I would say it's
'Cause
for the
just seems like
possibility.
extra.
I wouldn't call it extra, but I would say it's for the possibility. It's yet to be determined what they're for in terms of how they're used. But the space around the pool is obviously, as you
Mhm.
very accurately depicted, like that's where those kind of furniture things are gonna go.
Yeah, don't do it unless you're gonna have all that there. Makes sense.
Yeah,
Rather
So-
than having a bunch of space on the other side of the pool, like a lot of pools do, all the way around. It made sense to have it between, so, cause then you can integrate it down instead of having like a ladder or like a one staircase down.
Yeah,
You have this.
I understand
you have
that.
Versatility for plants or whatever.
but I mean, 81%'s a big number.
Yeah.
Post,
It's going to be
pre.
very
code
difficult
change
for us
potentially,
to
But it's a big.
agree
number.
with that.
Yeah, it's just, to me, it's on the grade. It's not obtrusive. The house is relatively small. I actually, I mean, I know it's a large percentage, but in terms of this specific property, it doesn't seem to be a big ask from my perspective.
How about narrowing this whole thing, this section, which is area 1, 2.
well, I would say part of the area, the area, like, part of area 4 specifically, that
4.
that area seems rather large, but you also have to keep in mind that part of that is already there. And a big part of the reason why I think that is the size of it is because it's sort of it's capturing other pathways to the back of the house. So you got a pathway that comes off the driveway, you got a pathway that comes from the house. The sort of the middle section of the house, you have a pathway that comes from the proposed addition space, which is making that space larger, which is then informing some of the size of these other areas.
Well, what you have there now is like one soft seating area. This would be bigger, nicer. That's logical to me.
The linear,
Yeah.
it's
I
just
think
also
it's bigger
matching the
too.
linear
It's
nature of the
cleaner.
house and the pool as well.
I'm sorry, which,
This whole big piece, that you just kind of cleaned up these little bits. And
Yeah.
made it one big.
and
As well.
so with this upper area 4, because of the nature of the paving on that, it's not necessarily conducive to furniture because it's open joint pavers, which again, it's when you walk, it's really like a wider pathway is the way it functions. It's not really for furniture. So it's hard to, I know when you look at this, area 4 being rather large, you have to imagine that surface is pavers with 2-inch gravel joints between them.
3-inch
You're
gravel,
asking
3-inch
for them
gravel.
anyway, like.
I also would like to make a point on again, with the design wise, that the linear aspect of the house and these lower terracing, they mimic the same size of the pool, so they are flowing together rather than having a narrow path going from large to narrow path and back to large.
How big is that?
This, I think it's plus or minus 13 feet. And again, the upper terracing is all gravel jointed,
Yeah.
and the existing one is on concrete.
Meaning we're tearing up a concrete slab and putting in gravel jointed pavers, which are they sort of function as stepping stones or a walkway more than a what you would consider a patio surface for furniture.
But again, you're asking for it like it's 100% coverage.
Correct, yeah.
So you could do whatever you wanted. If you wanted furniture there, perhaps with your variance, you can have it. Just saying. My opinion is, given the strongest argument you have is given that the house is so small and weighing the lot coverage against this very large percentage of terrace, it doesn't feel to me like that big of an ask as it does on paper at 81%, because the house is small.
Right. That's the point that I was making earlier. It's a small footprint for a house, especially in Tuxedo Park. I understand the 25% maximum, which.
Well,
for-
it's not a balcony or a deck. It's on grade.
Right.
That's
So
what
to
the
me,
code says, so.
right, but that's why I would say this code, part of the code, I think is probably the most requested and the most granted
Yeah.
in terms of variances, particularly if it's on grade, different if it's a.
I would also, I'm just gonna point to this really quickly to show the proposed addition. So we currently have a deck on the back of the house. We're cutting that deck in half via putting on this enclosed room. And so I wouldn't call it, I mean, it's sort of a concession in certain terms of we're already reducing the existing deck surface, knowing that we're proposing to add some space in the back.
Yes, even though you went through the 5 factors, I think you need to go through the short factors.
Board should discuss.
So, whether an undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties will be created by granting the variance. And, I mean, personally, I don't see where it would be a undesirable change.
I never heard who the neighbor was, the name of the neighbor,
Um,
and they never responded, but but I could see.
Ehrlich's,
house.
right? Isn't there Ehrlich's?
Yeah, it'd be early, yeah.
Who is it?
I don't recall their concerns being regarding the design. It was really regarding the length of construction, I believe. And I think that was addressed with the
Then they-
Nikitis's.
I think they wrote another letter too.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't pull it
They
out
just wrote
today.
another letter because we talked with them, explained what we were doing. They had no concept. And then once they did, they were all for it. And they, you have a letter somewhere.
Yeah, I just didn't have a get copy.
And that went to the bar
Um,
or to this door?
no, it either it was sent to me
Okay.
and, but like I said, I think the initial issue.
It was not a negative letter. then.
It was not a negative letter initially, it was just the length of possible construction because of possible rock removal. It had nothing to do with lot coverage of the design or anything like
Mhm.
that.
Whether the benefits sought by the applicant can be achieved by some method feasible for the applicant pursue other than the area variance.
They could build a bigger house.
There you go.
Well, I guess you did add a little bit more to your house, right?
Yeah.
You did add a little. more to the
A
house.
garage.
That doesn't go in the record.
You know, I think if you're gonna have a pool, you're gonna have something like this. Right, and there's no way around that.
Whether the requested area variance is substantial, in this particular case
Yes.
it is because the house is small and a pool's going in. All right, so it would be substantial. Whether the proposed variance will have an adverse effect on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or the district. I don't think it would at this point in time.
No, I think also has more to do with the lot coverage, because you get into managing
Yeah,
water in a
drainage,
way. So, but they're dealing with the water, aren't they, with a dry, with a.
We're
big
dealing,
dry
we
well?
have we have an engineer who's designed a dry well. We also have reduced the impervious coverage, via the permeable pavers. And so kind of there's a double approach in terms of minimizing any kind of adverse effects regarding the stormwater or water runoff.
A little more comment on those impervious pavers. Pervious or impervious? Pervious
I
pavers.
think it's
Thank you.
permeable.
Permeable paver.
There's many of them.
There's a lot of maintenance involved with that for them to remain pervious. And so it's tricky for us to be quickly saying yes to such things if that becomes a bigger problem for the village in that way,
Right.
which is all the more reason why I still think you should take them out of area 4 and go straight bluestone or whatever you're gonna do there.
Well, the area, the area 4 is they're more, are they permeable pavers in area 4? Or
Yeah, it's a gravel jointed paver, yes.
Okay,
It's the
so it's
same
the gravel
concept.
jointing is really what that makes them permeable in
Right.
that
And
space.
they're not set on concrete. And concrete is always impervious. It's kind of as it is.
Right, but the surface of some of those, I looked at the spec of the one that you're proposing. Once there's freeze thaw and erosion, that soft silt gets in there and seals up the joints eventually. Or if you're not pulling weeds, which become a bear, it starts to just clog up and it's not gonna work anymore. You'll find out when your snow's not moving and, and it's icy there all the time and dangerous. But, I'm just throwing it out there as a general concern because there are communities that don't like it at all
Oh,
for
yeah.
that reason.
Right.
Understood.
So being careful about it, I mean, I'm not saying don't use it, we don't have any prohibition to it, but there may be certain things that I know different villages do when that's a material in play here. That you somehow have to promise to maintain it in a way that obligates you to do so.
Sure, yeah, I think maintenance is key for those items for sure.
I know that a couple of other municipalities that I work with either don't count them as pervious or they count them, like they reduce it like by 50% or something. So, and some even require more so on, like industrial development or commercial development where they're being used to, to actually post a bond for a period of time for the maintenance of those pavers, pervious pavers, but that really goes more to like, again, industrial use.
Yeah, but
or-
we're really not talking about coverage here either.
Right, that's
Really-
true too.
Really doesn't.
It's not.
Yeah, it'd be easier just to
Right.
use something else and like go for it.
Sure.
I've said for the 5th time now, sorry.
Whether the alleged difficulty was self-created, which consideration shall be relevant to the decision of the Board of Appeals, but shall not necessarily preclude the granting of an area variance. Then most of them are self-created. If you didn't have a pool, it wouldn't be self-created. I think probably the board here is ready to vote. I would like to make a motion to grant this variance as proposed. Second.
Mm.
I just think it's too much surface, whatever, hardscape. I mean, it's beautiful, the property's beautiful, I agree with that, but it's just too much hardscape. So I can't vote for it.
Ready to vote?
No,
I think we
so far we
voted.
have three yeses and one no.
We haven't heard from
He
Dave.
was yes.
I'm a yes.
I'm a yes, yeah.
Okay. All right, your variance is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think we should point out that this really can't be the precedent. I mean, everybody's going to be paving their bloody lawns with,
Well,
it's just too much.
I said this was acceptable because it's a small house on a large enough lot. And that narrows down what at least one board member here felt was a compelling argument to say yes.
And the coverage is very small even with this.
Right. So in that regard, lots of people with big houses, they got their nice 25% of big house. And it'd be tricky to give them 80% of something, but on a case by case basis.
You're really not setting a precedent here because of the size of
Okay,
the
as
house.
long as there's no
There's no
precedent set.
precedent being set.
Each application stands on its
Right.
own.
Yeah.
You would have to have an almost exact same application and deny it for a problem to arise.
Yeah.
Okay, then you'll draft the
I
resolution.
will.
All right. Thank you. We have two minutes to meet the first. We have the minutes of July 2nd, which we're
Did you
closing
see
out.
July 2nd? I never saw it.
Yeah.
A second. What was?
Yeah, it was sent around,
July 2nd was sent around.
the minutes.
Right, what was the subject? That makes figured that. I
That was
saw
the
it.
Tuxedo Club. We
That was the
we had- we
first
didn't
hearing
approve
with the-
those. I didn't approve those minutes last time because I hadn't read the comments that were made, all right? And then since that time, I had read the comments, so I'm ready to vote on that.
Yes, and Denise, you and I exchanged some
Right.
from my comments on that,
And I
right?
hadn't
Yes,
read those
yes.
comments until, that's why we didn't put that up. So I'm proposing that we approve the minutes as amended of July 2nd.
Did you amend them beyond?
No, I did not amend
Because I
them.
didn't see anything
No.
passed.
No.
Okay,
Approved?
Okay,
yeah,
Approved.
approved.
And then we have the minutes of the meetings of September 3rd, which was the El Reyes, which have been passed around. Approved?
Yep.
All right.
Why don't we put in that Dave Christensen was available on Zoom? He doesn't seem to be there.
Um,
I'll add
Or
that.
which one?
He was
no,
present.
July 2nd, he was,
So I.
July
so
2nd, he
used-
recused himself.
he recused himself on July.
No,
on
but
the-
September the 3rd.
He's there on September.
September 3rd, I was in person.
He was here.
He was.
Yeah.
Oh,
It was the July 2nd
Well,
that he
look.
wasn't here.
Anyway, yeah,
Well, that.
he's not in my.
Yeah.
Oh, no, there was an
That's the one.
edited version.
That's very strange.
You have
No,
the
no.
pre-edited version.
Okay.
Okay,
All
sorry.
right.
Denise, sorry, Dave.
I recused myself from the minutes.
Yeah, no, that I understand, but.
All right,
I
I'd
couldn't
like to make a
understand.
motion to close the meeting. So moved.
So moved.
So moved.
At 8 o'clock, the meeting